in a really, really close game at the time, Luka Dončić was thrown out of the game. Now, he had a previous technical foul for using profanity towards an official. But then after hitting a shot, again, it was like a 2-point game, he turned and said something apparently directed at a fan who he was talking-ish with, and he got thrown out. Here's Luka when he was asked about the ejection.
You can see it that happened, but I never got a fan ejected, never. But if he's gonna talk, I'm gonna talk back like always. So that had nothing to do with the ref. So I didn't really understand.
Had nothing to do with the ref. The ref thought it was directed at him, and it was not. Here's LeBron talking about the ejection.
It was a weird couple minutes after that, starting with the ejection. I don't know why the ref was taking it personal. He had already gave Luka one, and Luka knew that. And Luka was going back and forth at that time with a fan that was sitting courtside, like Luka does when fans get to talk out of their mind, whatever the case may be. And Luka was going back and forth, and the ref took it upon himself to think it was, verse him or whatever the case may be. But then another tee on Bando after a block shot, and the game was just weird as hell after that moment.
Well, look, I don't think it's actually weird because the Lakers are trying to set into place, okay, the foreshadowing, or they're trying to be the big brother to Oklahoma City, right? The narrative on Oklahoma City is, yeah, all good and fine, but they haven't won anything. And Dallas went in and punked them last year, and Oklahoma City's trying to punk them this year. Right, that's the Jared Vanderbilt blocking a shot and talking trash. I don't know why we're calling technical fouls in the NBA. This is not NJB. This is not youth basketball. But it feels like painfully obvious of what the Lakers are trying to do. They're trying to big brother them. You're not any good. You haven't done anything. We're going to talk all kinds of trash. And you try and do it now so that it feels like you already know what you're walking into. They're trying to get into the head of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City is a young, super talented team. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander ends up having, 42 last night? Did hit 5 threes, is a foul merchant, but they end up taking advantage of Luka not being in the game and winning the game. But in many ways, the Lakers win even though they lost. Because I think we all know that Luka's not going to get called for 2 technical fouls once we get to the postseason. And Luka was a part of the Mavericks who beat the Thunder last year in the playoffs. And if anything, it creates just a feeling, an overwhelming feeling, that this is what it's going to be like for 4 to 7 games if you're going to vanquish LeBron and Luka and Austin Reeves in the playoffs in a couple of weeks. It's almost WWE-like in that this is round 1 of a multi-round fight, or this is fight 1 in the. Don't worry about it. This is like a pool play when you kind of throw a game early on because you're trying to set everything straight for when you play in bracket play. Sorry, that's the AAU coach in me, which is you do one thing in pool play and then you do another thing in bracket play. And the Lakers wanted to be tough guys and wanted to talk trash and wanted to push around the younger Oklahoma City Thunder and talk all kinds of ish to them. And in some ways, it was working. All right. Luka hits a little turnaround. It was 109-107 at the time. So, yeah, they lost the game, but Luka didn't play with last 7:40 to go in the fourth quarter, and they fall apart. Take the best player, take Shai off the Thunder for the last 7:40, and the same thing happens in reverse. But I think the Lakers won because of it. I think that frees up Luka to talk more trash. I think it frees up the Lakers to feel like you can't beat us when Luka plays. And I think the onus is still on the Thunder to prove it in the playoffs, something they have not done yet. And this is from a guy who knows and believes the Thunder will win in the playoffs, but it will not be easy. Will not be easy. Beyer, does that make sense as far as a read? That this is it was a day of foreshadowing. Just like the Knicks and the Celtics with how competitive that game is, despite the fact the Knicks have been a bit of a mess and the Celtics end up winning in overtime. That one felt like if they match up in the playoffs, it's going to be a 7-game series, but almost like a 12-round prize fight.
Well, yeah, and I think it's interesting, and I'll put this out there. I did not see the game last night. I did not watch the Lakers game. The Lakers game. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I didn't watch any of them. I just saw the Bucks come back against the Timberwolves, but I do know about the technical. I do know about the whole deal. What I find out, what's interesting about the Lakers is they choose these opportunities to show up, and which is why their game against Golden State within the past week, when they ended up losing to the Warriors, was a bit odd because it felt like the Warriors were playing that game like it was their Super Bowl. Maybe it was last Thursday. It could have been. I can't remember exactly what day it was. But they picked their spots. They did it on Christmas Day before Luka was even there. And so then last night's now the opportunity for them to try to send their message, and then falls apart when Luka ends up getting thrown out. So I think your assessment is fair. I just don't know why the Lakers just choose to turn it on at certain points. And maybe it's something Oklahoma City needs to do. Maybe they didn't take last night as seriously as the Lakers did. Again, I didn't see the game, but I think to your point of the Lakers turning it on and showing, yeah, this can be us, it sure seems to be their MO at times this season.
Yeah, no, I think that's completely accurate. I think it's completely accurate. And part of it is there might not be the need. Part of it is you got some older pieces there. And part of it is, unfortunately, that's who they are, and that can end up getting them beat as well, right? Because there's a point when you have older teams that you go and you kind of hit that gas pedal, and there's no gas, there's no explosion thing. You play video games. Do you remember RC Kart?
Yeah, vaguely. I remember the name of it.
RC Kart was like their radio controlled carts, whatever, and you had a button you could press instead of turbo like you have in football. It was nitrous oxide, So, but if you held it down too long, then you went back to press nitrous oxide. There was no nitrous in there, and you could hold down the turbo button all you want. You weren't going faster. That's the problem with when you're an older team and you try and turn it. Let's just turn it on at the right moment. Sometimes you cannot.
Yeah, I wonder if they could do it in a 7-game series.
Yeah, or how often you can do it in a 7-game
series. What I do think is interesting as well, Doug, is this, because you touched off the top, I do think LeBron's wording stood out because when I heard about the ejection last night, then saw the replays on social media of what happened, and, this is awful, and hearing the play-by-play, this is the worst call, this is egregious. He doesn't get tossed if he doesn't already have a technical, right? If he's mouthing off to a fan, he's not tossed because it's his first technical. The problem is he got a technical earlier. And isn't this the problem with Luka that we saw in the NBA Finals and saw throughout? So last night in a prove-it game, Luka still couldn't keep his mouth shut and continued to chirp and talk and was frustrated in the Warriors game. Like, that was the interesting thing to me is it wasn't like he did something that was an immediate ejection. The reason he got tossed was because it was his second technical of the game because he got the first one from mouthing off to the ref and cussing at the ref in the third quarter.
Yeah, it's the Luka being Luka, right?
Yeah.
It's the Luka being Luka. And I would actually use this expression my late father had to me for Luka, which is, and again, you'll understand that it wasn't in regards to technical fouls. It was in regards to personal fouls. He would always say, you can't get your second if you don't get your first. And it's the same thing for technical fouls, right? Like if you didn't mouth off to the official, the fact that he thought you were talking to him wouldn't have actually mattered the second time around.
Correct. Yes. Just we completely gloss over that. We want to blame the official, and LeBron's point is that he felt the official had an agenda from the beginning for giving him the first technical, and then knowing that he had a technical, so he teed him up again. But it's not like it's new that NBA officials may be sensitive. And so if you're Luka in that scenario, if you don't get the first one, you can mouth off to the fans. Guess what? Then you only get your one there. But just absolving them of any blame, I think, is foolish.